Tonight, Canada's premiers and their economic fight.
We have a crisis in Canada about Donald Trump attacking us. We're trying to protect our economy.
Final takeaways from their summit and what comes next. Plus, Great Lake risks, the concerns for beach safety amid high temperatures. And pausing activities in a local park, how a cemetery more than a century old was rediscovered in St. Mary's.
We believe that there are still quite a few bodies that are here.
CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with breaking news. Officials at London Health Sciences Centre say the cooling towers at Victoria Hospital have tested positive for the Legionella bacteria. A community outbreak had already been declared, but hospital officials say more testing is needed to determine if the strain found this week is the same as the community outbreak, and results are not expected for about 3 weeks. Hospital officials say the risk at the Victoria campus is not any greater than anywhere else in the 6-kilometer outbreak zone previously declared, and the cooling towers have already undergone chemical cleaning.
We do test our water. We've been checking our water. We do treat our water twice a year already, and we've done it extensively more with the outbreak just to kind of rule it out. So regardless of the test result, we have had treatment done to the water supply, and we are proceeding with an even more aggressive treatment and cleaning just to make sure we're not causing any potential harm to the community.
Health experts say the infection is not spread from person to person by contact, and most people exposed do not get sick. Symptoms of Legionnaire's disease include high fever, chills, a dry cough, and shortness of breath. They mimic pneumonia and usually begin 2 to 10 days after bacteria exposure. Canada's premiers concluded their 3-day summit today in the Muskokas. Their goals: shoring up our economy while removing interprovincial trade barriers and boosting trade with other countries. With more on their focus today, here's Rachel Aiello.
Premiers wrapped 3 days of talks about building up the economy and tearing down internal trade barriers, united against a common enemy.
We have a crisis in Canada about Donald Trump attacking us. We're trying to protect our economy.
With a former ambassador who briefed premiers yesterday, revealing today that reaching a deal by August 1st is highly unlikely.
It's complex and it may take longer, and I think it probably will.
One premier conceded that they'd now consider an agreement on sectoral irritants, such as autos and lumber, in the next 9 days, a win.
I mean, I'm watching Truth Social along with everyone else because things could change in 5 minutes.
Premiers also committed to taking at least one trade mission to another province or territory in the coming year.
We have our points of disagreement, but there are far more points of agreement in terms of how we're going to build our economies in our respective provinces.
And while the trade war with the U.S. dominated this week's discussions, today premiers also carved out time to tackle a pair of other pressing domestic issues. Public safety, including pushing the Prime Minister on bail reform.
We need to, greatly stiffen the sentence, not only for those repeat offenders, but for those that are bringing these poisonous drugs into our communities across Canada.
And strengthening Canada's strained healthcare system.
If we want to say that we're standing up to Donald Trump and we're never going to be the 51st state, let's make sure that our universal healthcare system is strong.
While Canada's premiers and the Prime Minister have come away from these talks largely on the same page, when it comes to fixing the immigration system, Premier Ford made it clear today he thinks the federal government has more work to do. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Huntsville, Ontario.
London's mayor is promising a crackdown when it comes to city councillors crossing the line during heated debates. As Daryl Newcomb reports, it's slowing down the decision-making process at City Hall.
Another marathon meeting of City Council extended by an increasingly common pattern. A councillor's politically charged language triggers an objection. Then the increasingly frustrated mayor has to settle the disagreement.
When I ask for this transparency from the Old East Village BA, I get a letter back that gives me a fog of I don't even know how to classify it. And it really actually hurts my confidence even more.
I think is a disservice to the staff who oversee this, to the BIA, and to the councillor that sits on that.
We make it sound sound like something untoward is happening. So that's what I talked about before, and I'm going to engage on these things a little more clearly from now on.
This latest council meeting ran over 6 hours, the longest in a troubling trend of inefficient decision-making. Of note, the number of objections, called points of privilege, that bring debate to a standstill. When a councillor calls a point of privilege, quote, the chair is asked to immediately consider and take action to remedy a situation negatively affecting the rights or privileges of council members or of council as a whole, despite other pending business currently before council. The councillors being accused of using disparaging language and those objecting changes based on the issue being debated. But this term of council has certainly seen an increase in that cycle, and while it doesn't involve all members of council, it certainly involves a lot of them. Members of the public are left waiting in the gallery for hours as council's progress through the agenda slows, and the charged language is impacting relations with city staff, municipal agencies, and stakeholders.
I'm actually going to ask all councillors, every single one in this room, to assume that staff of the corporation and staff of the BIAs and public service members are doing things because they believe it is the right thing to do, are doing things authentically, appropriately.
The mayor will be reminding committee chairs that decision-making has to be efficient and respectful.
We can have lots of debate, but that does not need to be done with charged language or veiled accusations. And so I called that out today, and I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to expect the committee chairs to do the same.
Council now has an opportunity to cool off. The next scheduled committee meeting won't take place until August 11th. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
Community leaders in St. Mary's have been forced to shut down 2 baseball diamonds because the land they occupy is an old cemetery dating back to the late 1800s. Sean Irvin has more on the due diligence which led to the grave discovery.
Behind a baseball diamond sits a stack of tombstones representing the lives of settlers who passed generations ago. This is one of 2 sections of stones on the edges of the vast East Ward Park in St. Mary's. The stones have rested here since the early 60s, when service clubs cleaned up an abandoned, overgrown cemetery and turned it into a park. David Vesey has lived next door since 1952. He used to play in the weeds amongst the collapsed graves.
When you were little, were there a lot more tombstones around here?
Oh, yeah. All these here. And all down at the end, we're all over the place.
But over time, most people in St. Mary's quietly forgot the dead still rest below. Although some were moved in the 1880s, the town recently learned many settlers remain.
We believe that there are still quite a few bodies that are here.
The information was discovered in an act of good faith. St. Mary's is attempting to assume ownership of land from 3 Protestant churches, 2 of which no longer exist. As part of the process, they contacted the Bereavement Authority of Ontario, an arm's-length government agency, for insight. That call sparked an inspection and ultimately a violation against the town.
And that's when it became identified that they didn't know that we were using it for active recreation currently.
Once notified of the violation, the town put an immediate stop to baseball games being played at this diamond. For now, the playground up the ridge continues to be used. The BAO is expected to issue a final ruling by the end of summer. Until then,
that's where we're maintaining the land and trying to make it a great space for people and to be respectful.
The town anticipates residents will be allowed to use the park for light uses, including picnics and reflection in the future.
We have, operated without any disrespect to anyone and made a good use of the land, we thought, but we'll have to see what the BAO says going forward.
As for David, well, he's torn.
It is a graveyard, which is, we've got to respect that. But what harm are they doing? They're only kids playing t-ball.
In St. Mary's, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
Good evening. We had another beautiful day. Temperatures a tad bit warmer than they were yesterday, but you'll really notice a difference tonight. So over the past couple of nights, we've had clear conditions, but nice fresh air. Heading through the morning, you'll notice the change. So temperature-wise, we'll be about 4 to 5 degrees warmer tonight than we were last night. And then as we move into the morning, the humidity really starts to move in. So you'll notice the heat as we head through the day. So tonight, still quite comfortable out there. 25 degrees at 8 o'clock. It'll be 19 by midnight. Skies remain clear and winds out of the south. The heat turning that up for your Thursday. Tomorrow will be the hottest day over the next 7. Daytime highs are set to hit 30 to 33 degrees in our region. I'll take you through the extended forecast and the risk of thunderstorms moving in tomorrow night. All of that coming up in just a few minutes. Carlyle, back to you.
Thanks, Julie. Local researchers are keeping an eye on Great Lake temperatures right now, with warmer conditions creating potential risks. With more on what they're looking for, here's Jerry Dewan.
It was a surge in Lake Erie's average surface temperatures that caught Mike McKay's attention, reaching around 27 degrees Celsius.
Last week, there was some growing concern as the temperatures were starting to reach what had been, in recent years, the highest temperature, for mid-July. That was 2020.
McKay is director of the Great Lakes Institute for Environmental Research at the University of Windsor. He says extreme heat warnings issued by health units in late June and early July also impacted the lake, with overnight temperatures in the 20s offering little relief. It created a rare phenomenon known as hypoxia.
Hypoxia is when usually deeper waters in the lake lose their oxygen.
That can have 3 impacts. The first is discolored water in the drinking water supply. Not dangerous, but not pleasant. It can also contribute to blue-green algae, with farm fertilizer stored in sediments on the lake bed getting stirred up and feeding the algae. The third issue is the impact on small creatures that are an important part of the food chain.
Which really is what drives the impressive fishery we have in Lake Erie. Lake Erie has roughly 2% of the water in the Great Lakes, but about 50% of the fish. So commercial fishery on the Canadian side, massive recreational fishery on the U.S. side.
With another surge in high temperatures expected, McKay says he and other researchers will be closely watching the impacts on the lake. Jerry Dewan, CTV News.
Environmental advocates have installed a new tool on Western University's campus to visualize the changing landscape along a section of the Thames River prone to flooding. As Lauren Stallone reports, it's a project aimed at better understanding the local ecosystem.
So essentially what you do is you take your phone.
A new addition to an ecological restoration site at Western University is inviting visitors to be a part of the rehabilitation process, captured through the lens of a phone.
Visitors to the site are encouraged to place their phone on the photo station, take a photo, and upload it to the Chronolog time-lapse, where they can monitor environmental changes over time.
We'll be able to track how the vegetation community is growing in, and people can see what it looks like to restore a creek bank.
The project first began in 2023 when environmental advocates noticed flooding. They say as storms become more frequent due to climate change, flooding will become an increasing problem.
What we are trying to do is to ensure that our watercourses have robust riparian zones around them, vegetation that grows and helps to limit the effects of flooding in our neighborhoods.
Advocates planted live stakes cut from sandbar willow trees and shrubs to stabilize the creek bank and restore the habitat.
It's also much better for biodiversity and for human health and well-being, creating access to nature and making sure that wildlife can move safely through the city.
Now, the new contribution to the site is serving as an opportunity for Londoners to learn more about the ecosystems that make up Ontario's Forest City.
This provides a really focal example for our community, not only showing what's effective, but also how the project is expecting to change over time.
The photo station is the first of its kind in London. Lauren Stallone, CTV News.
Provincial police say they're investigating a crash in Oxford County from last night, which sent 4 people to hospital. OPP posted this image of the scene on social media. They say 2 passenger vehicles collided south of Tavistock. According to police, 2 people taken to hospital have non-life-threatening injuries. Another has serious injuries, and a 4th remains in critical condition. A bumpy rail crossing in St. Thomas is undergoing repairs. Construction began today on the First Avenue rail crossing south of Edwards Street. The work follows interventions by the city's mayor, who had previously told residents roadwork could not be completed until CN Rail provided flagging support for the active rail line. It was expected to be a one-day project. A Chatham teenager has returned home after a battle with cancer. 17-year-old Ethan Hunter returned home yesterday afternoon to a celebration. He spent much of the last 2 years battling a rare form of leukemia at hospitals here in London and in Toronto. Hunter is now in remission after responding well to a new trial drug.
Very, very rewarding. Not everybody is, I don't even want to use the word lucky because it's not luck. It's people, and Ethan this far. Ethan wanted to come home. God loves him.
There are concerns in the local fishing community after a potentially record-setting catch on Lake Huron. It's not the size of the fish worrying locals, though. It's the species. Scott Miller has more on the potential damage grass carp can cause.
Right here. Yep, I've got a waypoint on this rock.
Richard Elliott thought he'd seen it all in his nearly 5 decades of fishing. But last week, he caught a fish he'd never, ever seen before.
I'm 65 now, and I've never seen a grass carp, and I was hoping I never would see them. We don't want them in Ontario.
Only 33 of these invasive species have ever been caught on the Canadian side of the Great Lakes since 2012, and only a handful of those were caught in Lake Huron. This may also have been the largest grass carp ever caught in the Canadian Great Lakes, Elliott believes. At more than 48 inches long and 30 inches around its belly, this behemoth weighed more than 58 pounds.
To see one that big was kind of awesome.
Elliott immediately alerted the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, who sent a crew down that day. They took samples and planned to return to the area next month to study the area off the shores of the Bruce Power nuclear plant where Elliott found the grass carp, belly up, but still alive.
I was with a buddy's wife fishing and I was pretty excited about it, saying like, wow, this is crazy. And she just kind of, yeah, whatever. But then when the crew got here and saw the excitement there, she goes like, man, this is a big deal. And I thought, yeah, I think it's a big deal.
Well, it is an amazing catch. It's not one Elliott wanted to make. That's because the grass carp is an invasive species. It's invaded some U.S. waterways, causing environmental disaster. So it's not a fish fishermen want to catch in the Great Lakes.
It's just not a good thing to have. And they do really outcompete our native species because they're not supposed to be here. There's no predators for them. They just grow like crazy.
Elliott says while he's now got an amazing story to tell about the time he caught one of the biggest, if not the biggest, grass carp ever caught in the Great Lakes, he's been told by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans that he may just find another one soon enough.
There is a camera out here that they've had out different times, and they actually have a video of two of them. So there's at least one more here. So, wow. Yeah, and I hear that they're possibly coming up in August to do more studies in the water.
In Bruce County, Scott Miller, CTV News.
When we come back, it's the Tee Up with Brent Lail. He's got the story of a couple former London majors and the big leaguer taking swings with their backyard bat.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVLondon.ca, your home for news.
The Hayloft Music Festival is set to take over Listowel on Saturday, August 2nd with an all-Canadian lineup featuring Brett Kissel, Mackenzie Porter, the Prairie States, and more. Enter at ctvlondon.ca for your chance to win a pair of VIP tickets.
Welcome back. It's time for the Tee Up with Brent Lail and Brent. NFL training camps are getting underway, which means local summer football seasons are coming to an end.
Yeah, this weekend, the London Junior Mustangs are looking to solidify the Forest City as the top football development pipeline in the province. The 16U team reached the finals thanks to some last-minute heroics. They were trailing Ottawa by 1 point in their own end with under 30 seconds to go when Cole Summers hauled in the pass and sent the 16U team to the championship game Saturday in Kingston. And as for the 18U team, they were down 12-9 to Cumberland at the half in the semifinal when Lucas Wong scored 2 touchdowns. Ian LaLiberte and Wyatt Cross also found pay dirt. London will look to defend their 18U provincial title Saturday in Kingston after a 37-12 comeback win. The 14U squad is off to the final as well.
And Brent, in any sport, there's usually an edge to a Canada-USA matchup, and there's one coming up this weekend on the slow pitch diamond.
Yeah, the 15th annual border battle will take place in Oklahoma, and it features Team Canada and 3 players from our region. This past weekend, those players were on display in Dorchester at the Ontario Eliminations Tournament. The Skaters' Edge Titans dominated the competition en route to winning the event, securing the top seed at next year's Canadian Championships. Kyle Nechtel of Ayr, Steele Lewis of St. Thomas, and Colin Andrews of Hanover are off to give Canada a 3rd try at a border battle win in 15 attempts.
It's a really cool experience. You get to play against the best players in the world and be a part of Team Canada. Anytime you can represent your country, it's obviously a huge honor. But yeah, when you play against them, if you don't get a lead and make them chase you, you're in trouble because they're so good. And once they get ahead of you, it's pretty tough to catch up. So you got to stay ahead of them and make them catch you if you're going to have a chance to beat them.
And finally, Brent, the Toronto Blue Jays are among the best teams in the majors right now.
Yeah, things not only exciting for the fans and players, but a couple of ex-London Majors players who make baseball bats. They got their bat in the hands of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. this week. I was in Toronto when Vlad took swings for the first time with the backyard bat. A mammoth batting practice home run off the facing of the 500 level at Rogers Center.
Hit the light blue standard up there.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. swinging some Canadian-made wood.
Ball's just jumping off his bats. Super exciting. How it's 20 years in the making, like me and Paul making bats. And to see a superstar like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. take the swings he was taking, we're very excited.
Windsor area natives and former London Majors players Ryan Leponce and Paul Lamancia are breaking through in the baseball bat industry.
I did dream about it. I don't think you could ever imagine that you'd have superstars like Nick Castellanos and Bryce Harper swinging.
Backyard Bats has hired the brother of Blue Jays manager John Schneider as their COO. This week, they took advantage of that connection.
Asked me to reach out to Vlad if he wanted to use some. And, Vlad, I think it doesn't really matter what he's swinging. He's going to swing it well. And like what he felt his first round to be big. Good Canadian wood, right? I've seen him do that, quite a few times. But if he can do that pretty regularly with the backyard bat, that'd be a good thing for him and a good thing for us.
Leponce and Lamancia had great careers in the Intercounty Baseball League, with Leponce reaching as high as AAA as a player. They believe their bat is a product of their on-field success.
Me and Paul knowing how to hit and Paul being that master bat craftsman, I think the players, it resonates with them.
Now the duo are trying to compete with major companies in the industry. It's not easy, but getting it in the players' hands is the first step, then letting their product prove its worth.
I tried as a player to get to the big leagues and to see our bat there. It's just as satisfying, if not more, just how difficult it is for a bat maker to get this opportunity.
Brett Lale, CTV News.
On the desk with Julie Atchison now. It certainly was a calm and comfortable start temperature-wise to this week, but as we get toward the weekend now, starting to heat up.
Yeah, things definitely shifting, especially for your Thursday. So tomorrow will be one of those days where you're sweating it out if you have to work outdoors. Take plenty of breaks, of course, with daytime highs approaching that 30 to 33 degree mark. It starts to get almost oppressive when you're spending a lot of time outside. And with the humidity, tomorrow will feel like the low 40s. Today, and the upper 20s across the region, it really was beautiful, and it was still quite fresh this morning. Air quality is good across southern Ontario, so that's always good news to share. Satellite radar, we are looking at some rainfall well off to the northwest. This is along this frontal boundary that will be slumping itself towards southern Ontario as we head into tomorrow. High pressures, though, still firmly in control. So as we take a look across Canada, just briefly wanting to mention temperatures starting to recover after some record cold in Alberta yesterday. Temperature-wise into the upper teens through the day today. And then southern Manitoba sitting at 23. Northwestern Ontario, 19 degrees towards Thunder Bay and getting into the heat as we approach Toronto. Forest fire smoke still an issue. Air quality advisories a bit thicker out there tonight than it was last night, prompting special weather statements by Environment Canada. And again, outdoors tonight in those areas, the air quality is very poor. Overnight, 18 degrees in the city, Midwestern Ontario, anywhere from 16 to 18 degrees in most areas, a bit milder along the lakeshore tonight. So quite a difference than at this time, or rather overnight than it was last night. So we'll woke up to that beautiful fresh air. That won't be the case heading into Thursday. We're going to be dry through the day, so we'll start with a nice mix of sun and cloud and the winds out of the south. The winds 20 to 30 kilometers per hour. This is the front that's going to slump in with some scattered showers and thunderstorms. So the parent low associated with this system will be driving to the north, and scattered showers and thunderstorms will develop over the northern part of Lake Huron. So the possibility of storms really ramping up as we head into Thursday night. So London likely will see some storms anytime after 8 p.m. as we head towards 9 to 10 o'clock, scattered showers and thunderstorms. And there is the potential for some heavy downpours because the air will become extremely saturated, lots of moisture to tap into. Heading into your Friday, mainly cloudy with a chance of a few showers early in the day, but forecast model clears this right on out as we head into a Friday evening. So a hot one for your Thursday. If you're going to hit the beach, mix of sun and cloud expected, 33, feeling like 43. Probability of thunderstorms pop up in the afternoon, about a 30% chance, but that increases to a 70% chance as we head into the evening. So most sports will be a go unless we get into some heavier storms early, and then likely anytime after 8 to 9 p.m. Friday, chance for showers early in the day and then cloudy with sunny breaks heading into the afternoon, but daytime high will 25. So with cloud cover early, we just don't have enough time to heat up the atmosphere. 29 degrees, a mix of sun and cloud for your Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud Sunday, looking nice for the weekend, 28 to 29. Feeling the heat and humidity, 31 on Monday under a mix of sun and cloud. It will be a steamy day. Possibility of a thunderstorm as we head into Tuesday. Our Metal Roof Outlet forecast heading into Midwestern Ontario. A mix of sun and cloud early in the day, and then the chance for showers heading into the evening. The probability will climb to about a 70% chance. It's going to be a hot one, so we are expecting lots of sunshine early in the day before the clouds move in, anytime after 6 to 7 p.m. Risk of showers on Friday, a mix of sun and cloud Saturday and Sunday, but daytime highs averaging above normal over the next 7. Carlyle, back to you.
Thank you, Julie. When we come back, a new American trade deal with Japan. But will the agreement actually give Japanese automakers an advantage over their U.S. competitors?
What's the most extra thing you've ever done for your pet? I went to the beach just for my dog yesterday.
Yeah, we heard from someone who bought a lawn chair specifically so their dog can sit in it. Wild stuff.
Join us tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m.
President Donald Trump says a new trade deal reached with Japan is a big win for America, reducing tariffs from 25% to 15%, leading to some relief on the markets. But as Abigail Beeman reports, there's still uncertainty, particularly for the auto industry.
CTV News caught up with the Canadian Automobile Dealers Association in between meetings on Capitol Hill. Hugh Williams has logged more than 30 with lawmakers and the U.S. administration and is feeling encouraged about a trade deal, but not for the August 1st deadline.
Senior senators, have given us the pathfinding that they're optimistic that we're going to have some framework of a deal that will resolve the trading problems between our nations, ideally by Labor Day.
He says it would be unreasonable for Canada to have an agreement that looks worse than the new U.S.-Japan deal that sees auto tariffs cut to 15% from 27.5%.
That deal has a lot of attention in the Senate and congressional leaders that we've been talking to. And I think that the prevailing view is that Canada should have a better deal.
President Trump is finally putting a stop to our country getting ripped off.
But this week, as a result of Trump's tariffs, General Motors reported a 35% decline in second quarter profits with more hard times ahead, and Stellantis a $2.7 billion net loss in the first half of the year.
We're down
about 30% in exports already this year from Canada in vehicles.
Flavio Volpe says he's taken aback by the 15% the Japanese agreed to, and it wouldn't work for Canada.
It's a bad deal. Better to slog it out than to lock in bad terms in the long term.
But it's still a good, valuable piece of insight into what might be achievable and what's the U.S. kind of baseline minimum tariff that might have to stick.
And this afternoon, multiple reports that the European Union is heading towards a similar tariff deal with the U.S. than Japan, a 15% tariff on EU imports into the United States, including autos. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Quebec's premier says he's willing to compromise when it comes to trade talks with the Americans, but not when it comes to Canada's dairy sector. Olivia O'Malley has more on the supply management system and its significance in La Belle Province.
This dairy farm in Hitchinbrook has been in Jason Erskine's family for 5 generations. There are 230 milk cows, and the business produces on average 16,400 liters every 2 days.
If we don't have supply management, I guarantee you this business would not be in business today.
Supply management is designed to protect dairy farms. Waterloo professor Bruce Muirhead says it's been in place for more than 60 years.
Egg producers and dairy producers were simply churning out too much milk and too many eggs. So as a result of that, we get supply management, which is a quota-based system.
There are limits to how much Canadian dairy farms can produce and how much from the United States can be imported to Canada. It amounts to roughly 3.5% of the domestic market. If American exports exceed this amount, they can be subject to high tariffs. For example, milk tariffs are at 241% and butter 298.5%.
So you can't have huge volumes of eggs or dairy coming in simply because it destabilizes the system and basically contradicts its fundamental premise.
American President Donald Trump has gone after the system, saying it unfairly protects Canadian farmers.
The Americans, of course, are never, ever satisfied. They want more, and they want more simply because they produce far, far, far too much milk.
The Canadian dairy industry has fought for decades to preserve the system that experts say safeguards smaller family-run farms from being put out of business by larger American competitors.
Even though I think all dairy farmers are concerned with the situation, it's beyond our control.
Erskine plans to take care of what he can control, running his business and caring for the newest member of his farm he hopes to keep in the family for generations to come. Olivia O'Malley, CTV News, Hitchinbrook.
Gains in consumer and financial stocks helped lift Canada's main stock index to finish higher. The TSX up 52 points in New York. The Dow added 508. The Nasdaq gained 127. The Canadian dollar claimed a modest gain of 0.14 of a cent. On commodity markets, gold dropped more than $46 an ounce. Oil fell 6 cents a barrel. Still ahead, the regional municipality of Durham installs an expensive new door that doesn't seem to work. Welcome back. City Council approved a controversial high-rise development in the city's southwest last night.
We've been given the target of 47,000 units by 2031. That's the size of Woodstock.
I cannot be beholden to the province on this idea that we are going to live up to this commitment on numbers of units if it's not what's best for the community.
Councillor Corinne Rahman called the decision a litmus test for council. Neighbours have expressed frustration over council overruling the Southwest Area Secondary Plan, which limits the height on the property to 9 stories. Last night's decision permits up to 16 stories. However, the approval includes a long list of conditions the developer must meet before construction on Pack Road can begin. The ward councillor, Anna Hopkins, also warned colleagues about the lack of transit and other amenities in the area.
4,000 units is a lot of units going into this development, along with all the other development applications that are happening. We want livable neighborhoods. It's not a numbers game.
Ontario Hospital Association officials say there are only so many efficiencies available in the province's healthcare system. According to a new report, Ontario spends nearly $2,000 per person for hospital funding. That's the lowest of any province. Hospital Association members say the province needs to spend another $4.4 billion a year to get up to the national average, and the report indicates it's not realistic to expect further efficiencies using traditional approaches. They go on to say thoughtful planning is necessary when it comes to expanding future hospital capacities. British Columbia's premier says the province's mining rescue teams are trying to free 3 miners trapped underground in BC's northwest.
There was an accident overnight. There are 3 miners that are currently trapped underground. They are, to the best of our knowledge, uninjured and in a refuge area.
The premier says 2 of the workers are from BC, the other is from Ontario. The Red Chris mine is an open-pit gold and copper mine about 1,700 kilometers north of Vancouver. It first went into production in 2015. A regional councillor in the Durham region is raising concerns about the hefty price tag for a new door. It was installed at the municipality's headquarters for roughly $1 million. And as Scott Lightfoot reports, it wasn't even working this week.
For Regional Councillor Chris Leahy, it was the caution tape that piqued his curiosity.
We had just installed this brand spanking new door, and it wasn't working.
A brand new revolving door at the main entrance of the Regional Municipality of Durham headquarters in Whitby. Why it wasn't working was one question he had for staff. The other was how much it cost.
And then that's when the information came out that the cost was about $1 million.
In a statement, the region said the building's existing sliding door system was reaching the end of its 20-year life expectancy. The doors were a constant source of energy loss during extreme temperatures and presented health and safety concerns in a high-traffic area. Leahy says the new entry is all part of a building-wide upgrade, but he wants to know how something as simple as a door could end up costing almost $1 million.
It should not cost $1 million to put in a revolving door.
He's not the only one questioning the cost of the door.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Residents we spoke to also had concerns.
You're kidding, right?
Not kidding.
What's it made of, gold?
Officials with the region say $403,000 was taken from federal infrastructure funding. $249,000 was from an existing capital maintenance project. And there was also $249,000 in additional financing, putting the total budgeted amount for the new entrance at $901,000.
If they're going to spend $1 million on this door, how much are they going to spend on the rest of the renovations in this particular building? Like, there's been extensive renovations over the last several years, so that's part of my investigation over the last several months.
Leahy now wants the region to undertake a value-for-money audit of the entire upgrade project to ensure Durham taxpayers are getting their money's worth. Leahy says he hopes to get more information from the Finance Committee when it meets next in September. The door is actually behind some fencing and construction hoarding here. Workers tell us that's not actually about the door. They're doing some work outside of the building, and they're doing their best to protect this very expensive entrance. Scott Lightfoot, CTV News, Whitby.
Tomorrow on CTV News, a judge's decision handed down. We'll have complete coverage of the expected verdicts in the World Junior Sexual Assault trial. That's tomorrow on CTV News at 6.
Thanks so much, Teresa, for this colorful photo, turning up the heat and humidity Thursday. It's going to be a hot one this weekend with daytime highs climbing into the upper 20s and feeling like the upper 30s.
New states of emergency are being declared in Manitoba, but these ones aren't for wildfires. Farmers are growing increasingly concerned for their crops in the midst of hot and dry conditions. Alex Karpa has more on the potential impact for consumers.
This corn should be considerably higher than this.
Lyle Thorgilson has not seen his fields this bad in years. Drought conditions in Manitoba are severely impacting his crops.
You can see the yellowing of the plant here and stuff. That's drought stress.
For perspective, this is what Thorgilson's cornfield looked like in 2023. And this is what it looks like now. Significant damage done due to little rain.
It's probably one of the tougher crops, and there's still maybe hope that we can get some tonnage out of it for feed for the cattle, but yeah, it's stunted for sure.
From a distance, this oat field looks like it's thriving, but in reality, as you can see, it's not. In parts of this field, the oat is barely growing, a problem that many farmers are dealing with right across the province. 2 rural municipalities in the province declared states of emergency last week due to the agricultural disaster.
It's not good, and we need a lot of rain.
It's not just farmers in Manitoba hurting, so too are many in Saskatchewan, with communities in that province also declaring states of emergencies. Virgil Johnson says it's not just people who will be affected, but livestock too.
We're not sure how far-reaching these conditions are, and where the local producers are going to be able to source feed to carry them through the winter to maintain the herds they have.
In addition to the drought, smoke from wildfires could gravely impact food products moving forward, but one expert says it's too early to tell how this will affect consumers at the grocery store.
Smoke could actually impact the quality of grains at harvest, and that could also impact the revenues of farmers in the end, and they could get less money for their product.
We've had to put more money into these crops than usual.
As for Thor Gilson, he is praying more rain falls so he can salvage some of his crop. Alex Carpa, CTV News, London, Manitoba.
A warning from the United Nations World Food Program. The people of Gaza are now living in famine-like conditions.
More than a third of the people are going for multiple days without any meal at all, without any food. We have up to 100,000 women and children are suffering from severe acute malnutrition.
Officials say up to a quarter of Gaza's population, about 500,000 people, are starving. More than 108 organizations have called on the Israeli government to allow more humanitarian support into the region. The Israelis claim they are allowing ample aid into the territory. The sentencing hearing for 2 leaders of the Freedom Convoy protest began today. Tamara Leach and Chris Barber were found guilty earlier this year of mischief. The pair were key figures behind the convoy, protesting vaccine mandates and other pandemic measures. Crown lawyers are seeking 7 years for Leach and 8 for Barber. Barber was also convicted of counseling others to disobey a court order. Hot and humid conditions this summer have created ideal breeding grounds for mosquitoes. With that, increased risk of West Nile virus transmission. Colton Weens has more on the work tracking and managing those risks.
This is how the region of Waterloo checks for West Nile virus in the community. 16 traps are set up in popular spots for mosquitoes across the region that capture adults for testing.
And then we submit it to the lab where they count how many mosquitoes they have, they identify the species of them if they're of concern to transmit the West Nile virus, and they test them for West Nile virus as well.
A seemingly simple design, dry ice is placed inside, which attracts the mosquitoes as it transforms into carbon dioxide gas, and a battery-powered fan traps the insects in a cup.
It depends on the environmental conditions, but it can be up to 200, but it can be as little as 2 mosquitoes.
Results are usually within the end of the week.
West Nile virus is carried by mosquitoes and can cause mild to severe illness. It spreads when they feed on an infected bird and then bite a person. Cases of West Nile virus have not been found in any pools of mosquitoes or in any humans in the region this summer, but a dead bird has tested positive for the virus. The region does say because of the transient nature of birds, a higher priority is placed on mosquito pool testing.
Traps would be increased in the event that there was a hot spot or there was an area of concern, but typically the 16 would be monitored throughout the summer.
Musa says the hot and wet summer has allowed for an increase in mosquito breeding. That's why beyond the testing, public health wants residents to take precautions around their properties by removing any standing water, ensuring screens are on all windows and doors, wearing protective clothing, and using insect repellent.
Change their water baths, change their ornamental ponds, at least once to twice weekly, any unused equipment on their property to remove. In addition, if there's any buildup of leaves and debris in the eaves trough, to allow the water to not stand on their property, because mosquitoes do love standing water.
The region does conduct larviciding to eliminate larvae before they develop into adults. Residents can also contact public health for help with any standing water on their properties or to report any standing water on public land that might need to be assessed. As well, it's recommended anyone who finds a dead bird should report it directly to the Canadian Wildlife Health Cooperative. Colton Weens, CTV News.
London's top stories.
We have breaking news tonight out of Ottawa. The latest on the
breaking news alerts.
I'm tracking an area of severe weather. It'll start.
And watch live.
A development now to a story from City Hall we brought you.
Download the CTV News app.
Welcome back. Finally tonight, a Maritime homeowner who's had some noisy neighbors move on to her property. She isn't complaining, though. In fact, she's come to love sharing her space with them. Hafsa Arif reports.
Every morning at 5, the calls start.
Parents come with food, and they make one racket.
It started 3 years ago when a pair of bald eagles built a nest above Linda Rick's garage. And since then, inside it, a family has grown year by year.
In 2023, they raised 1, and last year 2, and this year, so fortunate, we had 3. So it's just a blessing. I'm just so thrilled.
Linda has been here for all of it. Every flap, every drop of fish, and every loud morning wake up.
I don't think they want to leave. Here we go.
The youngest of this year's brood has been taking its time flying. Sort of, but staying close to home.
Some now, they've decided to go back to the nest. All 3 of them. Don't ask me why. Maybe the mother prefers to feed them there. It's so sweet. And I have seen birds, so they have been bringing birds to them too.
She's learned their patterns, their personalities, and their favorite spots.
When I first saw one on the ground, I opened the back door, and he was sitting on my rocking chair right at the back door within a couple feet.
They built the nest, but Linda built the bond. She says she's not just a neighbor to the eagles, she's their mother, minus the feathers.
They just seem so used to me that they don't scare me. They don't fly at me. They just stay wherever I am.
Seasons change, eaglets grow, and nests fall. But one thing is certain, Linda will be here watching from the porch, heart wide open. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Mineville.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. For your latest local headlines, you can always head to our website. I'm back tonight with your late news at 11. Bye for now.